Good morning. Broadcast 5. The Zealots' underground movement against Rome. Urgent news. The Zealots were a group of freedom fighters dedicated to freeing the Jewish people from the grip of the Roman Empire. They had received their names because they were characterized by their passionate zeal for their Jewish customs and heritage, which they saw as being threatened by the infiltration of the Greek and Roman culture. Although there had always been such Jews who were ready to fight for their nation, for example in the Maccabees' revolt against the Greek culture and domination, the Zealot Party was a distinctive movement, having started with the revolt of Judas the Galilean. This revolt took place in 6 AD, 10 years after the death of Herod the Great. After Herod's death, his kingdom was divided into 3 parts, of which the largest and most important, Judea, was given to his son Archelaus. Archelaus, however, inherited none of his father's abilities as a ruler, and ruled Judea so harshly and ineffectively that the people sent an ambassador to Rome begging that Archelaus be removed. This the Romans did, exiling Archelaus from the country. To replace him, they reorganized Judea as a Roman province under the direct control of one of their own governors, who had supreme control as the emperor's representative. Because Judea was thus put under direct Roman rule for the first time, it was necessary to hold a census to determine the amount of tribute which the new province might be expected to pay into the imperial exchequer. It's a word I've never seen before. I love reading. This census was carried out under Quirinius, who was the Roman commander in Syria, since Judea formed the subsidiary part of the Roman province in Syria. However, many Jews felt it was intolerable that the Jewish people should pay tribute to non-Jewish Gentile overlord. Indeed, they felt that to pay tribute to a Gentile would be high treason to God, who alone was king in Israel. So, a number of people band together under the leadership of Judas the Galilean and rebelled against the Romans. This rebellion itself was crushed. Judas was killed, the people were scattered, but it was important at the start of the popular resistance movement, which continued to gain support. The Zealots were not only hostile to the Romans, they were antagonistic to the Jewish establishment and won considerable popularity and admiration among the common people. Through their opposition to the hierarchy and wealthy aristocrats, particularly the landowners such as the Sadducees and the Sadducees, the Zealots therefore were seen as champions among the common people throughout the country, although their support was more widespread in Galilee. Eventually, the hostility to Roman occupation exploded and led to the Zealot uprising of 66 to 70 AD. This resulted in the destruction of the nation and the Roman sacking of Jerusalem. Urgent news, broadcast 5. Judea had been under Roman rule since 63 BC. At first, the Romans ruled indirectly through the Judean kings, Herod and his sons. However, in 6 AD, Herod's son Archelaus was deposed for incompetence, and the Romans initiated direct rule under one of their governors. The Romans then carried out a census to assess the amount of tribute that should be paid to Rome, and hostility broke out. A revolt was led by Judas the Galilean, but it was quickly crushed and driven underground. This was the beginning of the Zealot movement, which had the greatest support in Galilee, and to some extent accounts for the Galileans striving for a nationalistic leader and focusing their hopes on Jesus. The feeding of 5,000 was the climax of Jesus' ministry in Galilee, but it was clearly misinterpreted by the crowds who tried to make Jesus king. Jesus then left Galilee. Although there were a variety of expectations about the nature of the Messiah, most widespread popular belief was that the Messiah would be another David, a military leader who would defeat the Romans and restore sovereign Jewish nation under God's rule. Jesus rejected such an idea of the Messiah as too narrow in outlook and doomed to failure. God's kingdom, he maintained, is to transcend national boundaries and is to be God's rule over the lives of men everywhere.